Well, welcome to another episode of the Blank Podcast. I'm here with Cedric.
Hey, that's me.
It is you, Cedric. Now,
Thank you for having me.
well, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I am originally from Providence, Rhode Island. Proud to be a New Englander. Um, Actor, writer, been acting professionally since I was about 9 years old. Doing it for a very long time, and just being me, being creative,
I, I
trying to be
love I
cool.
love how you tossed out Rhode Island. I don't think I've had anybody toss out Rhode Island out of all the people I've talked to on this podcast. So that's a first. But
Oh, really?
when you say actor, what do we mean by what do you mean by acting? What have you acted in?
Mostly theater. Um, Got my first job doing Christmas Carol when I was 9.
No way.
And then then just started acting when I was really little, doing theater, local theater in Providence, Rhode Island, and then went to college for it. Acted in here in New York. I live in New York now. Here in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, up and down the Northeast corridor.
What what
So
what what is what would you say the most interesting about it in your mind is? Because I've always secretly wanted to be an actor. I've kind
mhm.
of really enjoyed it, but I don't know, just being on camera, being on set, and it was different. We have our flaws that we tend to hide behind and stuff that I always say, you're kind of your own enemy, because it seems like every issue someone has that they don't pursue a goal is mostly in their own head. Mine was my looks. So I was like, why would I want to be on camera so people can see my amazing teeth or something? So it held me back from the journey of doing it. But it's just so much fun to be able to, when you see them on screen, actors on screen, and you start to learn how passionate someone can be about a craft. People give what's his face from Batman, Christian Bale, they
uh,
give him
that
major crap for the one time that he snapped on a person that was supposed to set a prop table. And I was like,
mhm.
because the man drops 50 or gains 60 pounds to play his roles. You're telling me if a person doesn't do their job correctly and has a cheeseburger on the prop table, he's not going to get upset? I would be pissed.
Well, this is how I look at it. I feel like since I wasn't a sports kid, so theater and acting was my team sport. And I feel like if you are making something creative, it takes everybody.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be cordial, not cordial, but you have to be able to work with people. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think that Christian Bale, I've never worked with him and never met him, but I've heard that he's not the easiest person to work with. And I think because you're doing something so um, that it takes a lot of time, it costs a lot of money, and you're in an intimate relationship with these people for a year, a few months, that you have to be able to get along. Um, if you're blowing up because somebody didn't do the craft table right, you're you're you, you're not in the right headspace to me.
Well, I'm saying, imagine you gaining 50 pounds to play a role, or no, let's say you're losing 50 pounds to play a role, and
Uh,
then you're like, hold on a minute, I just spent all this work to do this, and the one person slacked off and didn't have one thing. He might have been blown it out of proportion for sure, but I can, I'm guess more I'm saying I'm rationalizing his
mhm,
anger, justifying a little bit on the concept of it's hard to do your job, especially in the industry. I mean, you got to think what you're doing when you're being an actor, producer, director, whatever. You're creating content for a large amount of audience, and you're hoping to God that it goes well, like that everything goes together. James Cameron didn't know if his Avatar movie was going to be a major hit or become this thing that has literally caused depression in people. It's
mm,
this idea of that you're creating something from your mind with the
mm,
work and help of so many other people that are involved around you, and trying to figure out what fits in today's times, which today's times, as we probably both know, is fucking nuts, man.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
living in this insane, Sharknado's a thing. Just
yeah. Yeah,
put that in your head.
yeah, yeah. Well, I you know what, yeah, I think you're right, but artists, to quote Miss Erica Badu, artists are sensitive about their shit.
Yeah.
And and I can understand that you're doing all this work to make the product good, and when somebody isn't doing their share, even if it is just the craft table, you might get upset. but I just don't, I don't vibe like that. I mean, I'm gonna love you no matter what. You know, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. And if he yells at somebody, they're gonna correct it. But I wouldn't do that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't do that. That's just me though. But I can understand what, yeah, I can understand that point of view. Like, I lost or gained 50 pounds. That was hard work. All you have to do is put a bagel on a table. You can't get that right. I completely understand that.
What from I guess my own journey in life, I've tried to understand like so many things because yeah, we always see the physical illnesses, right? We always see the ones like somebody's missing an arm, somebody's missing a leg. But what about the one inside of their own head, the invisible illnesses that no one ever talks about, things that you can't see, people that suffer from MS or something. Once I started diving down that rabbit hole and stuff, I'm a weightlifter, so surprisingly,
Okay.
with weightlifters or people that are gym freaks like myself, there's a large amount of eating disorders. There's a large amount of body dysmorphia disorders and all these things. So from seeing Christian Bale, where I have appraisal for him, is from watching him being able to transform for a role. Where putting on 50 pounds for someone like me or someone else that suffers from like a psychological thing when it comes to their looks, that is fucking mind blowing to like,
Yeah.
oh my God. But that would be like that with anything. If you see someone like Tom Cruise, for instance, I wasn't really a fan of him. I didn't like, his whole persona and stuff, but I saw directors or whatever, a cut of one of his Mission Impossible movies.
Right.
And he jumped in one of the scenes to jump
Yeah, and he
onto a
broke his foot.
yeah, fuck.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
tell to keep up with that just for the thing. I'm like, that's what in my mind, it doesn't matter what I feel about what you believe in or what I feel about whatever you do in life. If you're jumping on Oprah Winfrey's couch, that doesn't mean anything because that proves that you are passionate about a
Right.
craft and you're
Right.
going to be willing to do anything to keep that shot.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. It's all about passion and commitment. I mean, it takes a lot of commitment to gain 50, 60 pounds. It takes a lot of commitment to tell yourself, I'm going to jump from this building to that building. And when I break my foot, I'm going to keep going. It just takes so much commitment and love for this crazy thing that people do. And you also have to be so brave. You have to be brave, first of all, just to be an actor, I think. But you have to be even more brave to be able to be like, yeah, yeah, no problem. I'm gonna learn how to fly this helicopter and then fly this helicopter. I'm gonna jump
You
this
got to get over the nerves of
chasm.
not trying to shit yourself. Every time I was going to get in front of people, I was like, oh God, here it comes. I'm getting the tummy rumblings.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always been pretty good in front of people. Like, and school taught me that. School taught me to be fearless and be uh, and accept what I am and be comfortable in my own skin. I mean, I did. This is right after college. I did a production of Rocky Horror on stage, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that was the first time I'd like ever taken my clothes off in front of a lot of people. I wore women's underwear in that show,
Did that
and
ever get weird, like doing that in front of all those people, even if it's for a
uh,
scene?
it taught me a lot of acceptance of myself, a lot of body acceptance, and if you don't like what I look like, I'm sorry. I'm getting paid to do. I'm getting paid to take my clothes off. So and it's I'm not doing it gratuitously,
Where,
but
where would you
I'm just
find that your fit would be like if you had to pick? Like for me, I'm more of like I definitely see I could float on the lines of whose line is it anyway?
mhm.
Improv, talking, being able to come up with something on the spot. If I have a structure, that's when I get super nervous.
Oh
That's where I'm
really?
like, I don't know how to like it's the practice part because
Mhm.
practicing and practicing, I'm way better if I'm just thrusted right into it. Like, hey, these are my parents. And I'm just like, was not planning on meeting you today, but it's not, and you just roll with it, you know?
Mhm. Um, I've done a lot of improv. Even when I was a little kid, I did improv, and I'm very comfortable with being thrust into situations. Like sometimes when you walk into an audition, they're like, "Okay, we wanted you to read this and you prepared this, but can you do this instead?" And you have to be ready because you want that job, right? Um, but also, I also appreciate structure. Structure is kind of like wearing a really nice suit or wearing something that you really like to wear. It's already made for you. All you have to do is put it on. It probably doesn't fit, but you're in it, right? So for me, being spontaneous is great. Also, being told what to do is great too. I can follow direction very well.
Would you say that you ever had maybe an opportunity or chance that just didn't feel like it suited you well? Like kind of like it feels like maybe this character isn't me because like I've people have heard my voice on this thing and been like, you do a pretty good impression of this. And then I got casted for like my buddy was like, hey, I want you to do this voice. But
Mhm.
like doing it the way he read it was like, mm, sorry, man. It just doesn't seem like this is what the character would do, in my opinion. And then he's like, all right, well, then, you're you. Do you. I just want you. And I'm like, okay. So then I did it in my own way. And he said it came out way better. I feel like sometimes you have to take grasp of those things. Like, how many movies do you see where you're watching and like, is the actor really even in it? Like it's because that's a weird thing is when you ever take an acting class, when you ever take a directing class, when you ever take something like that, you analyze movies different. You look at
Right,
movies like they're using a low angle here, they're
right.
using a high angle over there. That's what's really emphasizing on that shot. And then when you see an actor, you're like, oh, like he's trying to get in this mindset. Oh, he's doing these mannerisms to really emphasize his structure of this character.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, well, I always try to put a little bit of my personality in whatever character I approach. But I've been lucky to be able to play a wide range of things. I've played old people, I've played children as an adult, people who aren't like me. So I try to just infuse just a little bit of who I am into what the character is about, maybe the character's backstory. Uh, so I try to make myself comfortable if I don't feel comfortable with the character. Like I've played soldiers. I have no idea how a soldier acts or how a soldier will react to a certain thing. But you also have to remember that soldiers are human beings. I'm a human being, so it, yeah, for me it's delicate.
It's
It's
hard to
like
capture that realism too. I mean,
it, it's
especially
it's hard to capture the realism, but I think that if you're going for realism, it's about the moment. Acting is predicated on listening and reacting to what you've heard, or feeling or react or having an emotion, a reactional emotion to what you've heard. So I feel like it's living in the moment. I don't think it doesn't matter if you know the character is a coal miner or a farmer or a businessman or you know a athlete. We all have this shared experience because we're human beings.
bro, I'd have to disagree on that one. I look at all the old Smokey and the Bandit movies or old mafia movies, and there was a specific account of a woman that would, this mafia gangster guy. I forgot what the actor's name was. He was like, "You're not acting like you have been shot at before," and she's like, "Well, I haven't.
Mhm.
I haven't been shot at before." And he pulls out a real gun and shoots it right beside him. Now that is a
Oh,
very drastic example, but the dude knew how to react of what a gun sounded like when it got shot. Same thing Rob Lowe talked about. He would play movie scenes and he realized when he went to go actually shooting for the first time as a fun
mhm,
hobby, he was like, I was shooting like an actor. I was shooting
mhm,
bracing for the impact and not knowing what the actual feel was completely different. I think you
mhm.
need to experience stuff like that. It's like being a storyteller, for instance. If you're going to tell stories, you should have experienced some stories. You can tell when someone's like, okay, you're not really seasoned, like, like a fine
Right.
spice.
It's so funny. It's so funny that you say that because I was thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking about how I feel like now I'm such a better actor because than I used to be because I've experienced a little bit more of life and fallen in love, been heartbroken, have had tragedy, have had struggles, and you're absolutely right. Experience makes you completely better. Um,
It's the part and parcel of using raw emotion or something to be able to
exactly.
create a scene. When I'm watching theater is, in my opinion, is one of the hardest forms of art, not for me to just to pay attention to, but really hard for me to be able to discredit at all because of the concept of how hard it is to perform that alive action theater. I used to go to plays all the time when I was a kid going to school.
Uh,
And I never took the time to really pay attention to them, except one really struck my fancy and it really got me interested into this art form. And that was the monkey's paw. being able to recreate the pain and understand what it is like to be a mother or a parent and lose a son based on a wish that you had taken and something bad had caused that to help you, whatever the plot was that they got the money from. They wished that their rent would be paid, and the rent money was the cost of their son's life. So it was this whole thing of watching that impact a love for someone. You never know what that is until you've lost someone, and you can relate to that. It's about finding the relations and things. If you can capture your audience with your acting, you got to know what anger is, because how are you going to be able to manifest that emotion and soak them in?
But there are some actors who can turn it on. Some actors, you believe them because they can understand how it feels in the body. They don't have to be there's this one instance where Dustin Hoffman was talking about being angry and having to be being angry in a film, but having to be angry over and over again. And he said that sometimes he'll just yell at a wall, just like, "Hey, you over there!" like yelling at the wall. Even the action of being angry can make you angry. So
yeah, but he knows what anger is, though, is what I'm saying. You have to know what that emotion is. If you've never lost anybody in your entire life and you're playing a person that has just lost their whole family in a fire, you're not going to know what that sadness is like. You're not going to know what that sorrow is like.
That's true. That's very, very true. And again, you experience really does help. But sometimes when you're manufacturing something as an actor, you have to manufacture it, because today you might have won $1 million, but then you have to go on stage tonight and be heartbroken and poor. That's not how you're feeling today, so you have to manufacture it somehow. So even if you are not in the space of, I'm going to use my experiences, although that's what actors are trained to do, I'm going to use my experience to convey this emotion. Sometimes you just have to fake it till you make it, and that's being really honest. I know that's not true to the art form, but sometimes you just have to fake it.
Doesn't that get difficult trying to fake it, though? It's like watching reality television. I know that so much of that is bullshit. Like you're watching people fight over a pasta dinner. You did this, you didn't take out the trash, and they flip a table. I'm like, that is so over dramatic, where I'm like, as an audience member watching, like, come on, man.
But those people on reality TV aren't actors. They're not trained to have an emotion over and over again, or to be able to tap into an emotion. The greatest thing that I learned in school was to break myself down, to be open to anything. So if you're open to anything, that reaction will hit you very hard, or that emotion will hit you, and you'll be able to react to it truthfully because you're open, you're exposed, you're vulnerable. So even if you do fake it, being vulnerable will help you convey that emotion, that anger, that sadness, that happiness, truthfully.
Well, there's a lot of people that are probably listening that are just kind of wondering what it's like to, because I mean, everyone has dreams of the big Broadway thing, even though it's so hard because of the percentage of people that actually get through to that. It's very minuscule. It's the same thing like being a musician, but it doesn't mean you have to give up on it because it's going to be hard. It more means like you got to find what is inside of you, that I would say is the thing that's going to that you really got to click onto.
Right.
It's hard because like we say, the biggest enemy is probably ourselves. So we put ourselves in these roadblocks. But if you let that define you and cripple you down to a point where you're not going to pursue your dreams, you're just going to end up being miserable for the rest of your life. I'm pretty sure every person in the world has one neglect of something they might have forgotten about or looked back upon, and that moment is gone. Mm-hmm. Don't do that with your passion, because your passion is never gone until you're dead. Right. So it's hard because you see what goes on in the industry, and it seems like getting famous now, like even Rob Lowe said, he's like, who the fuck wants to be famous now? He goes, it's miserable. I mean, he was talking about his statistics of his show back when there were only like 6 or 8 channels on the network, on TV. There were only 8 channels. He was the last one, the poor rated show. Do you know how many views he got on his show?
No.
19 million.
Wow. And that was the least.
That was the least.
Yeah.
Dude, Big Bang Theory is one of the top rated shows today, and it doesn't even scratch a million. It's at 875,000 or something. That's
Right.
ridiculous to see how that much has changed. So
Right.
with the industry changing so fast, it really makes it difficult. Like there are some actors that have stopped acting because of it, just on the fact
Mhm.
of like, I'm going to retire. Like I already got it going. Like let's say, I wouldn't say Sylvester Stallone or maybe Robert De Niro. His whole
Uh,
idea was a mafia style thing, but it was perfect for that time period. Like I feel
right.
like if he tried to become an actor now, it wouldn't swing it. You know, if he tried to be himself like back in the day when he first started and do that today, it wouldn't work because his style of things are completely different from the times that are going on today. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the
Mhm.
content has aged differently. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but
Well,
it's
he's also augmented his persona. Like, aside from the Irishman, now he's playing like, happy grandpas and
that's true.
and old fogies, not to be ageist, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was been this, I guess, large amount of time where you had to be good looking to be on camera. You
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
absolutely.
perfect looks. Pam Anderson. That's actually another thing. There's another person with the body issue. She tried so hard doing like plastic surgery and stuff to be able to keep up her looks, knowing that that thing was so fleeting. It's just like fame. It's a fleeting thing. Everyone wants a minute in the spotlight, and then when they get all the attention on them, they kind of want to hop out. You know, it's nice
Mhm.
and sweet for a little bit, but you got to kind of ride that till it hits a point. And then you're like, all right, speed bump's coming up. Let me hop off here. But
Or let me augment myself to get over that speed bump.
it's depending on how you go, man. I mean, even Kevin Hart at one point talked about how he didn't like the whole fame aspect of things. It's just
Mhm.
it's a power corrupts, man. It's really really hard to do what you're passionate about without letting it hit your ego, without letting it hit a lot of different things. I mean, I think being open more about those flaws is what's important because everyone puts on this five-star persona on social media, but no one ever talks about the bad times or talks about, other things and shows a different side of them. And so I like following like comedians or something because they do their bad shit on stage. Like they tell you
Yeah,
all about their
they're the
imperfections
saddest
in
people in the
life.
world. They're the
Yeah.
saddest people in the world.
That's why they make
Uh,
people laugh.
yeah, yeah. But going back to again, like I'm I'm 39 years old, so I
You look
I'm
20.
well. That's because I shaved. You should have saw me yesterday. I had like gray hair and stuff, and uh, but but yeah, I also try to take care of myself. but being like accepting what the skin that I live in has been so beneficial to me because people when I walk into an audition or people want to cast me in things or want me to work on this, they understand that Cedric will be able to you know get over the superficial stuff and really get down to it. um, so I think it's all about accepting yourself to accept your place in however famous you are. I a long time ago I worked with Uzo Aduba. Do you know who she is?
Mm-mm.
She played Crazy Eyes on Orange is the New Black.
That's a show I have not seen. If you toss
Oh,
out Game
interesting.
of Thrones, I won't. I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, no, no, okay. We won't talk about Game of Thrones. Um, but she's blown up recently, like huge. She just won an Emmy for playing Shirley Chisholm. And I remember working with her, and she's always had a gap in her teeth.
Yeah,
Like in her two front teeth, she's got
I
a
think I know who you're
gap.
talking about now. Yeah,
Yeah. And I remember working with her, and she was like, "Oh, I love my gap. It gives me character. So it makes me interesting. It makes me unique." So when you talked about your teeth, how I think your teeth are fine, but
because I haven't smiled yet.
okay. There you go. There you go. But I mean, your teeth, it gives you character. It makes you you. No one has teeth like you. So no one has a nose like me. No one has,
That's the hardest thing for people to come to grips to, and even I'm at fault.
absolutely.
I think every day you have those moments where it's like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. we're fed a 5-star perfect image of what you should be. That's also grafted by technology a lot of times too. It's why I follow real bodybuilders being a lifter myself. It's like, I like seeing when people are like, this is my six pack, but then this is me when I'm actually normal in public and they look like a normal person.
Right, right.
So much of everything is shown of what you're supposed to look like to be in this. And it's like, why don't you accept your flaws? Like,
Hmm.
what's his name? It's not Kevin James. I think yeah, Kevin James is the one that plays in Grown Ups, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Right.
His manager had tried to talk him out of losing weight because he was afraid he was going to lose roles. He thought that
Hmm.
the funniest thing about his personality was he was this overweight guy, a Chris Farley type that would wreck through stuff. That might help with his comedy for sure, but it doesn't hinder his talent. It's this
Right.
weird thing that we get into our heads that we have to act a certain way and be a certain thing to be able to be popular. And it's like, if you
Mhm.
embrace who you are, find your individuality, whatever it is, you're going to find that you're going to work 1,000 times better than you would have if you're trying to be something that you're not. I mean,
And you're going to feel 1,000 times better about your work,
yeah.
which will motivate you to work more.
How do
Um,
we get people to think in that mindset though? Like, it's everything's telling us that you have to do this or you have to do that. How do you get people to be themselves? It seems like we're in this mixed world of people mimicking or adopting other people's personality traits. Like, so many people are trying to be like Kevin Hart, be like this. It's like, be yourself. That's the
be
best
yourself.
thing you can be. And don't be a
Yeah.
dick.
Right. Oh my God, don't be a dick. And going back to Christian Bale, like you don't have to be a dick. You don't have to, you could have expressed yourself in a different kind of way. But yeah, you're right. Don't be a dick and accept yourself. And I think people are dicks because they are mad at themselves sometimes. They're they feel inadequate. So they have to, you know, have this bravado about them to make them feel better about themselves and to make other people.
That's a fault of our parents, and that's also a fault of the industry, because whenever you're a little kid, and this is for any little kid out there, you're taught that you can be an astronaut, you're taught that you can be all these types of things, and then when you hit 30 and none of that's happened yet, you feel fucking useless. It's a huge issue of amount of pressure that's put upon you at just a young age. That's like that with anybody, because they want you to, it's in good intentions. They want you to be the best that they think you can be. But having that thought and having that pushed onto your head, it makes little stamps into the back of your brain where when you get older and you're like, remember all the people that said I would be like best in class, I was the funniest dude in class, and I'm not doing anything. I'm working at a dead end fucking job. Just the world, it's changing so fast and so quick that it's really hard to find your grasp. Like, it's like jumping out of an airplane real quick because it's about to explode and you forgot the parachute. Like,
Right.
it's I have a sense of huge empathy for the world, mostly because I know a lot of people that are pissed off. I get pissed off too. But it's the
Mhm.
concept of like, it's just really hard to try and survive in today's time. Like, it's not as negative as media shows it to be, but it's
Mhm.
also really just hard to manage, like bills wise, money wise. We've built this foundation, this society on looks and money. It's like, what are we trying to prove here? Like, when can we just be happy?
Yeah, and all of that, fame and money, when it's your time to go off this mortal coil, you can't take any of that with you. So yeah,
But
you're
for
right.
now, it can buy you a Lexus, and that's what people
Now I
can.
can buy you Lexus. Like, Lexus, that's for somebody else. I'll buy myself, like a Criterion collection thing or something like that. But and which would be nice. But then again, I can't take that with me when I go either. Um, but yeah, you're right. Just this constant rat race of I got to get to the top. I got to get to the top. Is so hard, and I've come to the conclusion that you know what I'm part of the rat race. I can't get out of the rat race, but I'm going to make it as far as possible, as far as I can, and as I'm not going to injure myself or hurt my psyche because I'm very comfortable with who I am. So
I
I'm
do.
going to do the best that I can and just be me. If you don't like me, I can't help that.
I do think there's like this unrealistic expectation that you have to hit a deadline at a certain point. And I'm like, we all learned from the rabbit and the tortoise, or the rabbit and the turtle, whatever.
Right.
Slow and steady wins the race. Life is this thing that could be gone in a second and it can last a pretty fucking long time.
Mhm.
You gotta move at your own pace. Everyone I see on social media nowadays is talking about it needs to be now. I need to get this. But I know some dude that messaged me like, hey, I love your podcast, love to be on it. I'm like, cool, check it out. It's just conversation. Because I know when it's a person that is just sending a copy and paste message to a billion fucking people, because I've
Yeah,
done it
yeah.
myself. So I see that and I'm like, you got to check out the show first. He's like, all right, sure. And then check it out. Still wanting to do it now, today. I'm like, dude, no, I'm not even home. Like, it's not happening today. We're going to schedule it or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's this idea that they have to make as much of a noise as possible, book interview after interview after interview. That might be your whatever routine or thing of trying to get to the goalpost, but it's not about rushing it either. There's just this pressure that's put on you where it's like you need to
Mhm.
be doing something now, and any minute that you're not doing something, you're failing, and that's not true.
Yeah, I've always been kind of, the opposite end of that. I don't I well, this is what I've learned recently. I've learned that everybody is running their own race, and everybody is going at their own pace. So you shouldn't compare yourself to other people in your industry, whatever you do. You know, acting. You can act until you're 90, until you're 100. So I mean, for example, my father, he's 69, and he started acting when he was 50, because when I was a kid, I had all these teachers, and he ran into one of my teachers recently, about 10, 15 years ago, and the teacher, was talking to him and said, "Oh, I'm doing this play. You would be perfect for it." My dad was like, "No, no, no, I'm not an actor." It's like, "No, no, please come in and audition." So my father went in and auditioned, got the part, and has been acting ever since. And I remember one year he made more money acting than I did. So you can act whenever, and everybody's at their own pace. And if you feel success, we all have this idea of what success is, but personal success is just as important. So if you feel like, I did this one thing, it took me 15, 20 years to get it done, but I did it. I'm proud of myself. I think it's all about how you feel personally. Yeah, I understand there's other things going on around you,
Yeah.
but for me, uh, I haven't reached the level of success that I want, but I feel like I've done so much and so well in the 39 years that I've had.
I think a measure of success needs to be changed to, do you
Agreed.
think that you're successful? Do you think that you have success? I hate motivational stuff, but it ends up turning into a motivational thing sometimes. But there's just this thing that everybody with the idea of being famous is being loved by somebody else, being looked up to by somebody else, being a hero, being all these types of things where someone can look at you and be like, I want to be like him.
Mhm.
That doesn't make you successful in yourself. I know plenty of famous people that have
Uh,
have all the money in the world and they're fucking miserable. There's people that talk about having
yeah, yeah.
everything and just being straight up sad with everything. And that's just because they haven't done something that to themselves makes it feel successful. It's really
Mhm.
hard. And you mentioned your dad, for instance. You can be famous at any age. You can be 99 and get a
Exactly.
get a record deal. Jimmy Yang, he was on the show
Yeah,
Space Force with Steve Carell. He
right.
talked about how they needed to fill up another person who was Asian in one of the
Mhm.
slots to fill up on the Chinese Space Force. So
Mhm.
he threw it by his dad, and his dad just goes, "Sure, I bet I can act better than you," as a joke. And his dad actually did really well, and then
Yeah,
ended up now having an acting career that has had more acting positions than Jimmy has. So
yeah,
he's like, "What the fuck?" Like, I just tossed out my dad, and then next thing you know, my dad's actually doing stand-up comedy now too.
right,
It's this
right.
whole thing is like you just got to do it and not care about who's watching. Like, and they say sometimes don't, dance like nobody's watching. It's the
Exactly.
same thing. Even if you're being on screen, there are people that are going to see you, but be in the moment of it. Be that character, be who you are, and it's going to
Absolutely.
shine a lot brighter than you can always tell. Like, I've seen performances where like the person's been worried about the audience, and I'm like, the audience can sense that. It's about picking up a
Mhm.
vibration. It's why what's his name? Hugh Jackman, for instance, doesn't just shoot X-Men movies and stuff. He does
Right.
live theater performances as well because he wants to keep on his toes. He wants to find that energy in the room and capture upon that.
Yeah, doing live theater. Yeah, absolutely. Doing live theater is amazing because you have that immediate response and you can feel it. And that feeling is, you're not, not to be, self-absorbed or conceited, but that feeling, when people are, when you're done with the show and people stand up and they clap, it's just like, oh my gosh, I remember doing a play in Boston, and every single night we got a standing ovation. Every single night. And I remember the first time we did it in front of a large audience. We came out to do the curtain call to bow, and when people were standing up and clapping, I was like, oh wow, we actually touched these people. After doing all of this rehearsal and having it down pat, and you're doing all the emotion and you're feeling it, but you've done it before, and you know how the person on stage is going to react to you, but you don't know how the people in the audience are going to react to you until you actually do it for them. And it was just like, wow, we conveyed this message, the message that we were trying to send, and it really impacted people. So much so that sometimes when people wouldn't stand up in the audience, we'd be like, "What's wrong with you? How come you're not standing up? What did we do? What didn't we do that made you not stand up and join the, the celebration of this play that we're doing?"
Have
Um,
you ever seen a film or something that has literally brought you to tears?
Brought me to tears. Uh,
I'm not a sensitive guy, but I recently like understanding more, like listening to like parenting podcasts, listening to a
uh,
bunch of stuff to try and understand perspective of like why someone would feel that emotion or something like that. I had watched the movie The Mist, and that
uh-huh.
fucking movie is so scary, kind of, if you really want to get soaked up into it. But the ending, the part where he kills everyone in the car, his own son,
Right.
everything, just to save their life, and then he gets out of the car to deal with the monsters that are coming, and it's the military that comes through, and he just killed his whole family, and he starts screaming in pain. That
Mhm.
fucking got me. I was like, damn, dude, like you just murdered your whole family and friends.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen, because we've been in on lockdown and in quarantine for so long. I've been watching a lot of Criterion collection, and just some things that I've seen have really blown me away. Um, just like, for recently, I just saw The French Lieutenant's Woman with Meryl Streep and Jeremy Irons. It's from actually 39 years ago. It's made in 1981, and I don't think I've ever seen. I'm a visual person, so I don't think I've ever seen Meryl Streep look more interesting or beautiful before, ever. And she, she's in a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, the whole time I was just like, oh my God, look at Meryl Streep. I've seen Meryl Streep before. It was just like, holy shit, look at Meryl Streep. And she's playing two different characters in it. Uh, and one of them is just gorgeous. She's playing an actress. So she's like, got this like cute little red 1980s bob. She looks like, someone's really hot mom in the 80s. And then she's also playing this Victorian character who's kind of mentally ill, and she's got this really crazy red wig on. And it's just like the aesthetic quality of what they did to her physically and how she's acting through it. It's just like, wow. I mean, I watched the movie last night from the 30s with Cary Grant, and just I was just like, oh my God, these costumes, like, just like that kind of thing really amazes me and makes me feel emotions.
a
So I've
good
never been brought to tears, but it's just like I can feel what you got, what's being portrayed just from the way people look and what other artists on the project are doing, the costumes, the makeup.
a
That's the
good
fun part about being an actor for me, is playing dress up, just bring
a
it
good
down to a base level.
a good perspective of a movie I want to see that seems like it would really kind of move me would be the Al Capone movie with Robert Hardy. When you're
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What? Not Robert Hardy, Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy. Why did I say
Yeah,
Robert
yeah,
Hardy? I was thinking
yeah.
Downey Jr. No, Tom Hardy, when he's playing that role, You get to see a man who's slowly coming to grasp that he's losing his own mind, like his
Yeah.
dealing with memory loss. He's dealing with so many things, and you can see him catch himself in the moments of it. Just being able to replicate that, and even a really good movie called Lawless with Shia LaBeouf
Mhm,
and Tom
mhm.
Hardy.
Yeah,
If
that
you
one's good
have
too.
a family member that's a brother or something, or a close bond with your family like that, or you have siblings, you know what that's like to lose one or to have one
Mhm.
threatened, where you want to step up and make sure that you can protect them with everything you have. And
Right.
I wouldn't understand that if I didn't have a sibling. You know what I mean? That's
I
what
don't
I
have
was
siblings, yeah.
it's hard to understand what that's like, but it can impact you really freaking hard. If you, like, for me, I have an older brother. I saw that. I was like, damn right, I would stand up for anybody that was a sibling of mine. But I know what that's like, because I know what it's like to be at that point in my life where I had needed, we see one of each other get hurt, and next thing you know, you're standing up for that thing. That's what I meant
Right.
earlier about understanding what that anger is like. If you've never experienced anger, you gotta
Mhm.
those movies, that they can hit you a different way when you understand a little bit more of the basis, rather than just paying attention to the movie, be like, oh, well, here's the story, here's the plot, and here's what happens to this. Analyze it down to the bone and what mindset the characters had to get there and to play that, and put yourself in those shoes.
Yeah.
You watch anything with Robert Hoffman, or what is it? It's Robert Hoffman, right? That's the guy who played in The Big Lebowski.
You mean not Robert Hoffman? No,
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
oh,
Phillips.
Phillips.
Yeah. Why am I thinking Hoffman? I don't know why that name's stuck in my head. But Philip Seymour, for instance, when
Yeah.
he is playing Benjamin Buttons, and you get to see that shift, or when he's playing in The Big Lebowski,
Yeah.
that whole thing of like nervousness and worry and stuff, you get the sense of that by his mannerisms, because you might
Right.
know what that was like to be nervous ever going on stage. Once you understand that perspective of stuff, you realize how fucking classic those movies are, and why they're so solidified in just movie history. The fact of, there's so many things that add up to the overall effect of a scene that a lot of people don't even take in unless they know about what it's like to design a movie, what it's like to write one, what it's like to
Right.
act in one. There's so much other stuff you pick up.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah, you're absolutely right. Being able to connect to a character. Like, what did I watch recently that I was just like, acting is fantastic. Oh, it was The Sopranos. I rewatched The Sopranos, and I mean, I think also that's one of the shows that ushered in this golden age of television. I think we're kind of in a bronze age of television now, but that's when television started to become different in The Sopranos, and I think it's a testament to the writing on that show, and the acting on that show is just it's just incredible. It just made me want to act more. We don't have the opportunity to do that as much now because of the pandemic, but it's just that and for what it was, the acting was so subtle. It's this big kind of giant mafia show with these huge characters, but then the acting is so subtle and so nuanced that you just like, look what these people are getting the chance to do and are able to do successfully. um, yeah, I acting is fantastic. I love it. That's why I'm still doing it. I'm not famous. I wish I could work more, but
But do you love
I
doing
love
it? Do you love
I
doing it?
really do love doing it. I
That's
love
the
it, even
important part.
even when it's difficult. Even when it's difficult, I'm like, oh man, I'm having a hard time with this, but the challenge of doing it is attractive to me. And also, I'm not doing it alone. There's other actors there to help me. There's a director there. It's a team effort. Acting is a team effort. Um, so I love teamwork. So yeah,
That's what
acting
I
is
really
fantastic.
like to see, is people that are passionate about something and not really worried about, like, oh, I'm not famous yet, or I'm not this. It's like that can ruin so many good things in
Mhm,
life, is
mhm.
wanting it to be something and afraid that it's never going to get there. You just got to do it because you love it. You got to
Yeah,
do it. Once you start putting all these invisible fears in your head, you're becoming your own enemy again. You're not
absolutely.
doing anything that you started it maybe with the idea of fame, but you love doing it and you found this passion and craft of, oh my God, I get to perform. I get to play whatever. I get to play make
Mhm.
believe if you want, if you want. It's why LARPing is so freaking fun. You get
Yeah.
to fight with fucking foam swords. Like,
Mm.
come on. It's a relaxation from the day. It's about not worrying about what other people will think of you, not worrying about what other people might want you to be, and just being yourself and finding where you fit, like a nice pair of shoes.
Absolutely. I mean, I also teach little kids, and that's a performance in and of itself. Is trying to be entertaining and also convey some sort of knowledge to little kids. That's another thing that I love to do
Yeah, I
is
think
teach.
all adults should have done that when we were little kids. Because I remember so many times when I was a kid looking up at me like, "You're an adult, you know everything," and then you become
Yeah.
an adult and you're like, "No, they didn't know anything."
Right. When you like get like 8 or 9 years old and you look up at your parents and you're like, oh, you guys are just people.
Yeah,
I like you guys, but you're people too. You're people too.
you don't got the answers to the universe like I thought you did back when I was like
Exactly.
4. I like to
Exactly.
play a game where if I get a call from somebody and they're looking for somebody, or if I
Mhm.
meet someone on the street and they go, "Tim," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what's up, man?" He's like, and he just starts going off. I like playing those to get into those situations because then you end up realizing you're in a hole that's really deep.
Yeah.
Like, I got a
You do
text
that to
from
yourself on purpose.
I got a text from a number that was like, "Hey man, what's up? Haven't talked to you in a while." I'm like, "What's up, man?" I didn't know the number was. And he just kept going on. Next thing you know, it's the dude thinking my name is Tim or something. And I'm like, I don't know this person's name. So we set to hang out on Friday. Yeah, man, I could pencil you in. What are we saying, around 2:30 we meet up at Starbucks? Yeah, man, 2:30 sounds good. I went to Starbucks at 2:30 and I met the guy.
Wow. And did he realize like, oh, you're not Tim?
No, he realized I wasn't Tim. Like pretty freaking quick when he looked at me.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "You're not." What? I was like, "Yeah." It's like we're meeting at Starbucks. I was asking multiple people. I was like, "Are you the person I'm meeting? Are you the person I'm meeting? Are you the person?" I didn't know what he looked like. Next thing I know,
Right.
I asked this dude, "Are you the person I'm meeting?" He goes, "I'm meeting somebody here." And I'm like, "Are you meeting Tim?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I'm Tim." He goes, "No, you're not Tim." I'm like, "Oh, well, I got the text from the number." He goes, "Dude, I texted the wrong number." I was like, we had a conversation for like a couple of minutes afterwards. We drank Starbucks together. This was a few
Right.
years back, but I mean, before I had the podcast, or I would have invited him on.
Right. That's so funny. I would never do that. Like, it's so funny that you say that too, because when you contacted me on Twitter, you contacted me like we had known each other for a long time. So I was just
It's
like,
not hard to talk to people.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to come on, because I listened to one of your episodes and I was like, oh, this guy can really hold a conversation and seems easy to talk to. And I'm not afraid of other people.
Don't be
So I
afraid of
was like,
me.
yeah,
I want
sure.
a hug. I'd hug you if we weren't in a Zoom call.
Totally. I'm hugging my tablet right now.
Well, I mean, there's just so many things that people either hide themselves from wanting to be out there or not wanting to talk. I'm like, just be you. That's
Yeah.
what people are going to love the most. Like
Yeah.
I've done 600 something episodes. I'm
Wow.
me. I can't be anybody else. I don't think I could put up an act this long. It's just
Right.
I'm generally just want to have a chat. You could be that Starbucks guy, dude. I was honestly hoping that was going to be like a good conversation, maybe a new friend, but he was
Right.
like, "No, you're not fucking Tim." And I'm like, "All right, man. Well, I'll catch you later." He's like, "Probably not. I don't ever want to see you again." I was like, "All right, well, shit. All right, I'm out."
He felt betrayed, I guess.
He honestly, would you be upset if you think you're texting somebody, then you go and meet them and it's not that person? It's like catfishing.
I would be. I wouldn't be upset. I just, that's just me. I'd be like, wow, this guy really went into the, like, really leaned into this bit. Like
I think it
really
was a
leaned.
drug deal. I really think it was a drug deal. He didn't mention anything
Uh,
about drugs, but he's like, "Hey, let's meet up." And I think that's why he was upset. Because
um,
if it was me and I got that and that happened to me, I'd be like, "Dude, we got to talk. Like this is
right.
this is crazy. Like I
Do you
gotta
think
get to know you."
do you think he was the buyer or the seller?
I'm gonna guess he was the buyer,
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going
but
with
I'm
too.
I'm thinking, why wouldn't you have your drug dealer's number saved as like drug dealer or something?
Right. Or like some sort of like, you know, yeah, exactly. Like
And if
why
you're
wouldn't you?
Tim, you don't sell drugs. That just doesn't seem like a Tim persona.
Maybe like the drug dealer's name is like, Mad Dog or something, and like Tim is like his cover. Like, oh, I'm Tim.
Or
doing
his real name's Tim, but he goes by Mad Dog. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
hey, Tim. It's like, call me Mad Dog. It's like,
Yeah, no,
I
Mad Dog.
fucking know your real name, and I'm not calling you Mad Dog.
Jimmy, Timothy.
Jimmy sells drugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Jimmy, somebody named Jimmy would sell drugs, and it's spelled differently. It's spelled like Jimee, Jimmy.
Like nobody else spells it that way. It's like, why do
Yeah,
you do that? It's because I'm different.
yeah. I'm edgy. I'm fucking edgy. I deal drugs.
Cedric, dude, I appreciate you for giving me your time and coming on to the podcast.
No
Anything
problem,
you want to promote, man? You want to promote where people can find your Twitter, your Instagram?
yeah. I'm on Twitter. You can find me at the said. That's THECED at Twitter at the said. I also write film reviews, so you can follow me on letterboxd.com/Ceddywed, CEDDYWED, and yeah. And I hope everyone is safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you. I'm gonna toss some films out at you, and you're gonna give
Yes.
me a good or bad. Okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's play this game.
Green Lantern.
Oh, bad.
Really?
Did I lose already? I lost
Yeah. Really? Come on. Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm also a comic book person, and I don't like what they did with I don't like the artistic license that they took.
They rushed 2 movies in one.
Agreed. That was a cash cow and not a labor of love like Black Panther or something else.
Do you think Static Shock should get its own movie?
Oh, I'm gonna say no.
Damn it.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Name something else.
What about Norbit?
Oh, Norbit. No, is that the one with
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin?
No, it's just Eddie Murphy. He's playing multiple different characters.
Oh, okay. No, I'm getting Norbit and Bowfinger confused.
Yeah.
Norbit it's fine. It's fine.
Everybody hates the movies I love.
No, no. Okay, no. Name something else. You've only named 3.
Well, we already said Big Lebowski. That's my all-time favorite.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Forrest Gump.
Oh, Forrest Gump. I like Forrest Gump, but I know a lot of people who don't like Forrest Gump.
I don't like it.
You don't like it? Okay, all right.
I like Lieutenant Dan's character, but I think the movie was just like, I don't know. It's just I've rewatched it a bunch of times. I don't think it held up that well.
I completely agree. It doesn't hold up. I have a really interesting, I love all movies. So especially ones that kind of don't take themselves seriously. So the other day I was actually thinking about Spice World, which is a movie that I love.
I don't think I've seen Spice World.
Oh, it's the Spice Girls movie.
I have to watch that. Spider-Man 3.
I'm going to say not for me, but I totally but I totally understand the campiness of it. I appreciate the campiness of Spider-Man.
We're like 4 out of 5 of no's already. I'm like getting upset here. Okay?
But listen, if you said, okay, if we were gonna watch a movie, sit down on the couch and watch a movie, and you put in Spider-Man 3, I'd be like, yeah, let's watch Spider-Man 3.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad, and I'm open to anything.
It's better than the new Tom Holland shit.
Oh, really?
I don't like Tom Holland. People think I look like him, and I'm like, I'm okay.
You do.
Damn
you do look like him a little
Damn
bit.
Damn
I really did like Far From Home. One, because I'm a huge Zendaya fan. I really do like Zendaya a lot. And that made the movie for me. But I like what they're doing with Spider-Man these days.
I think on acting persona, I think he's the best description of what Spider-Man should be. But I liked Tobey Maguire's because he was like in his 30s, making you think that he was still in high school. I think that was a major acting talent onto that for sure. Now, okay, so the final movie. Oh, there's one more in the bank that I've always said that people really crap on. Gotta remember what it is. I love a lot of movies people hate for some reason. I don't know why.
You know what? And that makes you unique. That makes you you.
What am I pulling out that nobody else is pulling out from it?
Well, exactly. And that's the great thing about film is that it's an art form, so it can be interpreted so many different ways.
Had to swallow my drink. Lady in the Water.
I love Lady in the Water.
Thank you. That's the only one. I don't care. That's the best. That knocks the whole thing out. I like that one.
Yeah, I really like that one. I think that's a really fantastic fairy tale.
People give Paul Giamatti shit, and I'm like, dude, his freaking his like stutters that he was that is difficult as hell to pull off. So I appreciated that a lot of people just glossed over.
Yeah, I think that, you know, a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's movies are, you know, kind of like, you're doing the same. He's got a shtick, but I think that one is probably one of his most creative, because it's definitely coming from a personal place. Because I think he wrote that he like wanted to make a film for his children, something that his children could watch, and he came up with this really cool idea where these two worlds kind of collide, you know, this magical world and this, you know, very humdrum, mundane existence. And he put those two things together, and I really liked it.
I enjoyed it too. And now I really appreciate your movie. I'm going to check out the movie page now. I was like interested before, but now I'm solidified and like, okay, we might have some similar taste on some movies there.
Yeah. Check out my, on Letterboxd, check out my, my review of the, of Disney's Robin Hood from the 70s, which I really like.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And the greatest thing about it is the voice performances. You know, it's you know, the basic story of Robin Hood, but it's all anthropomorphic animals playing all the different characters.
Oh crap, I haven't seen that one. No, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's one of my all-time favorite Disney movies.
There's a fox in it.
Yes, the fox is Robin Hood.
I'll have to check it. I stopped watching Disney movies after like Hercules. That was my favorite.
Hercules is good. What's my favorite Disney? Oh, my favorite animated Disney movie is The Emperor's New Groove.
That's a good one too. And there's actually, I'm not even going to give that guy a plug. Never mind. I was going to shamelessly plug somebody. No, Emperor's New Groove is good. I think they should have stopped when it turned into a TV show. I thought that's when it really lost all thing to it. I was like, oh my God, it's the same thing over and over again. It's like the movie just had so much more character about what happens if you have everything and lose it all.
Right. And there's also some things that I that are done in that movie that I had never seen before in something animated, like all the awkward pauses in the movie where a character will say something and then there's just this long awkward pause. I'd never seen that in an animated film before. And it's just like, wow, like the stuff that you can convey without, you know, having actual bodies there. Like somebody drew awkward. Like you can illustrate
how
awkward.
do you capture awkwardness in a drawing?
Yeah, it blew me away. It blew me away. And also all of those actors in it are fantastic.
Well, Cedric, I'll make sure I link everything in the description, man. And thank you for giving me the time to chat today.
Yeah, Robbie, this was a whole lot of fun.